3, 2. Go ahead, Joshua.
The mission we played was called, I think it's Power Grid. Might be Power Clash or something like that. It's the one with all the power plants. This one is interesting for a couple of reasons. It has two different special rules. The first is that the two largest clusters have power plants in them, and the clusters are worth double the victory points. However, if the power plant is destroyed, then they're worth zero victory points. The other interesting special rule is that you actually play diagonal to diagonal. So all of the clusters are in a line from uh, a corner on one player's side to the opposite corner on the other player's side. And in the other two empty corners, the players deploy. When we played, we did not use the suggested column approach. We used distant approach. Distant approach means that all of your battle groups, which have between 1 and 9 in total tonnage, go the first turn, and then you add everything up to 14 in the second turn, and then in the third turn and beyond, everything is able to activate.
Anything else special about it?
It's got a lot of sectors, I guess, probably 5 in total. So it's got the 2 power plant ones, 2 on the far outside, which are a little bit smaller, and 1 in the middle that's covered in military bases. So if you control that, you can do a lot of shooting. We actually played on a slightly larger than standard table. That we played on a 4x5 table. But other than that, and we used a 1,500 point list. And I was PHR, and Dave was UCM.
Okay, Dave, what kind of list did you bring?
Well, my Corvettes, I just got them in the mail over this last week, so I decided to take 12 of the things.
12?
So I had two Pathfinder battle groups, each with 6 Santiago Corvettes. And the goal of that was to use them to completely crush his strike carriers, which they generally did. For my own drop, I brought 1 San Francisco, because that's the only troop ship I've got, and 8 New Orleans across 2 different battle groups. 4 of them with a San Francisco and 4 of them with a Seattle fleet carrier. Then for some punch, I took an Atlantis battle cruiser, which is essentially a Seattle with the guns of a Moscow and more hull and speed. That one had a Lima with it, which are my sensor ships. And then my big group that I'd hoped to use to crush any battleships was an Avalon battle cruiser, 2 new Cairo light cruisers, and 2 Limas. And if all goes according to plan, that's a whole lot of burn through, which is one of the it's my best option for taking care of heavy armor and hull.
Cool. Anything?
And I did have a Commodore on the Avalon as well, just to make sure that I had enough that I competed when it came to those command roll-offs.
And why the 12 Corvettes? That seems a little excessive.
I could have taken 18.
8.
Had I had to.
Yikes.
That wasn't even my final form. There's you have up to 3 in a group. The Pathfinder battle group can have up to 3 light groups. So,
Oh my goodness.
I decided to do it this way to keep their strategy rating low, their tonnage low,
Mm-hmm.
to ensure that I get to choose when I pull them who goes first. They don't hit nearly as hard as the Taipei missile frigates, but they can hit an atmosphere, and they are really fast. 14 thrusts. So.
14 thrust, and they can hit atmosphere. Interesting. Joshua, what did you bring? And did you know he was going to bring 12 Corvettes?
I did not know he was going to bring 12 Corvettes, actually. And you can sort of see by the way I set my list up, I was not expecting that. I have lately been using two battle groups, which each have one Orpheus, which is the troop ship with all of the light caliber broadsides, as well as two Medeas, which is the strike carrier. So I had two battle groups, each one Orpheus, two Medea. And that was all of my troop carrying capacity, which you'll note gave me one more troop ship than Dave had, but gave me only 4 to Dave's 6 strike carriers.
Yeah.
8 strike carriers.
8 strike carriers, sorry. So I think if you totaled up the amount of points I could drop a turn, it puts me slightly ahead, but I was unable to threaten as many clusters. I also did 2 big battle groups. I had one with the Heracles battleship, which has the oh so lovely dark matter cannon. And it had 2 Calypsos, which is the ECM defense frigate. That battle group came in at 360 points, so it was pretty big, because it also included the vice director, which gives me the +3 to the roll-offs. I also had a slightly larger battle group in the Scipio, or Scipio. I think Scipio is the right pronunciation. But it's the battle cruiser that has the full carrier complement, so 4 launch, but it also has full light caliber broadsides as well. And I paired that with 2 of the Andromeda frigates, which are just launch 1. Other than that, my other 2 battle groups were just a single Bellerophon, however you want to pronounce that. I was in French immersion, so I keep wanting to pronounce it Bellerophon, but I know that's not it. Anyway, it's just a heavy carrier 4 launch with a burn through in the front. My last one, which was my sort of an all-killy one, though light, it has 1 Theseus, which is the light cruiser, which has a nice thrust and mixed broadsides. And I paired it with 3 Europa, which are just my bog standard broadside frigates. And that was it.
Okay, so who went first and talk to me about turn 1? Or what you want to talk about in general about it?
Well, I think the turn 1 was fairly uneventful. Nothing really happened on turn 1. I was able to bring in all of my troop carrying ships, as well as my Theseus and Europa, because they were between 9 and 0.
Yeah.
Then they just moved on and attempted to threaten a couple of points.
Dave, what did you...
I brought my dropships on and spread them out all over the place. With my troop ship heading for my nearer, or actually it headed towards yours. It headed towards the far power plant cluster, and I bombed my corvettes up to where the Medeas were, to start them fighting as soon as possible. And
okay,
being able to reach 28 inches up with a burn-in is pretty sweet.
Yeah, so essentially on the second turn, he used his Santiagos, which have only a 6 strategy rating, to jump my strike carriers. And correct me if I'm wrong, Dave, but I think by the end of the second turn, you had destroyed all of them but 1.
2. The second one, so you do have 2 dropping in the first round, or in the second round, on that one sector. It actually took me a little while to clear out that other one, just because I didn't roll so hot with my second round of missiles.
And I had a couple of lucky rolls on the catastrophic damage table.
Yeah.
Or no, sorry, that'd be the crippling table, the catastrophic damages when they blow up.
Right, yeah. But I did take out 2 for sure, and the other 2 were at 1 and 2 hull remaining. So, and then.
So I think at this point I almost offered to concede.
Really?
I should have taken it too.
Yes. He had jumped in his first battle group activation, first and second battle group activation of the second turn. He
Yeah.
had destroyed fully half of my strike carriers and had severely wounded the other two. The troop ships were still okay, they're still moving up, but he basically wiped out my ability to drop tanks across the board. And because the Medea are so fast, and because he killed them, it meant that there were some clusters, for the example, the ones at the two end of the table, that I never even dropped anything on all game. Just couldn't do it. I couldn't. I didn't have enough troop dropping ships. I had to focus on two sectors with the power plants, because I needed the double victory points. I was dark, man. It was dark. I was scared,
Scared.
real scared.
So you were ready to like quit after round 2. So
Yeah,
I think you were like offering your hand once they hit the table.
That was a great show. That was it.
I don't think it was that bad. Well, actually, you're not so wrong. After, because we both chose our lists, and I had a chance to look at it before we started, and I saw the 2 groups of Santiagos with my 4 strike carriers, and I mean, I just knew I was in for a beating. I
Yeah.
didn't think he was going to pounce on them that quick, though. Like he just said, "Fuck it," and went, full ham sandwich, and killed them all. It was brutal.
full ham sandwich with or without mustard?
With mustard, unfortunately.
There we go.
Crazy.
I think they also stuck to the mission the whole time too, until
Yeah.
you had no strike carriers, and then I went up. I should have gone after the Jakartas, but
You mean the Calypsos?
The Calypsos, yeah. But I really wanted to slow your push a little bit.
Yeah, I think you're not going after the Calypsos after you had crippled my drop ships, my strike carriers, was probably a mistake. You probably should have left one group to deal with the 2 that were super wounded and sent the other one after the Calypsos.
Actually, I did that, but the other group only had 1 ship left in it.
I suppose that's true. I suppose
Yeah.
I was able to wound one of the groups pretty good.
Okay, so you guys go on. So you don't quit at this point, even though you think you've lost, Joshua. You go to turn 3.
Oh, I'm certain I've lost. I'm certain I've lost at this point. But I figure, well, we'll just play it out.
Yeah.
And this is where it gets good, right? So,
For who?
well, here's where it starts to turn, because remember, my battle groups, all of my light ones, my battleship and my battle cruiser both
Yeah.
only come out on the 3rd turn.
Yeah.
So on the 3rd turn, my battleship shows up. It's out of range of anything it can shoot. So it comes in on silent running. Just to kind of coast in, start moving up the board.
Yeah.
My battle cruiser has a thrust of 10. The PHR battle cruisers are weird. They're a little bit more heavily armored than a regular cruiser, but not by much. But unlike everybody else, their thrust is like much better than their other cruisers. So it's thrust 10. So I kind of I move at a regular pace, just 10, but it gets me pretty up in the middle, and he's able to start launching bombers on the Santiagos, which has helped cut them down, and then also throwing some bombers, I think, on your Seattle and a couple of other things just to be a nuisance.
Yeah.
And that with my other heavy carrier and the Andromedas. Man, I was throwing a decent number of bombers out from turn 3.
Yeah, and
Troop
troop bombers
ships.
are serious business too.
Yeah, they are serious business. And the troop ships just started basically dropping troops on the 2 clusters that were worth more, because I couldn't do anything else about it. But my Theseus did kind of cook up one side, and some of my heavies started heading towards the middle, towards the clusters. So I started to have more board control in the 3rd turn, I think. Would you agree or no?
Yes, part of that was you tempting me by going weapons free. So I responded by going weapons free with my battle cruiser,
Oh,
And
right. The troop
Big
ship
S.
went weapons free, and you tried to light up to hit him.
Yeah, because I wanted to stop all of your drop capability. And what ended up happening was I went weapons free, so I lit up like a Christmas tree
We have good
and
combos
did a
in
single point of
Valkyrie
damage.
combo.
Yeah,
A
I had some good armor
single
rolls.
point of damage.
Yeah, I think only 3 or 4 were hits. There were only 3 or 4 hits, and 2 of them were saved. And like took 1 point of damage from a fully armed and operational battle cruiser, intensified for firepower.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah, that helped. At that
Yeah.
point, I felt like the dice gods were being a little bit nicer. I
Yeah,
needed
like
that.
that barrage. That's the kind of thing that cripples regular sized cruisers.
Well, the thing is, if that had gone well for you, that would
I
have been the
probably
game
would have won.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. Right now, that not going well for you meant I had a chance, but that going, didn't guarantee the game. But if it had gone well for you, it would have been over.
So after that, my corvettes went down and finished off your strike carriers,
Mm-hmm.
and my group, my other battle cruiser had come on as yours did in silent running,
Mm-hmm.
That turn I was able to light up your battle cruiser with my Limas and do nothing to it.
Nothing.
My big lasers
Where's Widow? Where is she?
didn't do a lot. The Calypsos removed my ability to crit with them.
That was the
and
battleship,
in-
not the battle cruiser.
Oh, the battleship, right? They removed my ability to crit by bumping up my lock value.
Yeah.
So I had to spread out my shots, but the shots that could have helped me on subsequent turns, the ones going towards the Calypsos, also didn't do anything.
Yeah.
There was a whole lot of whiffing going on,
That's been shot on the other.
but the
Those Calypsos are expensive, but you paid for them.
Oh, I would, honestly, I would probably drop my Jakartas if I could take Calypsos, even at 50% extra cost.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Hmm.
They need it though. My shit is so slow that it's gonna get shot before it gets a chance to shoot.
So this is a 6-round scenario,
It needs
right?
maybe strong.
6 round, yeah.
Yeah.
So now we're at the end of
that's
round.
that's probably the bottom of the third. But at the beginning of the fourth, my first move was to activate the battleship, and I think yours was the Santiago's or something, right?
My first one that turn was the Seattle.
You're right. It was the Seattle. Yeah.
I went after your one of your drop ships with it, and didn't even scratch it. It's kind of the story of this game, except for your strike carriers.
The troop ships were survivable this one, and they hung on there.
And for my part, I did target them a lot. A lot. I should have. Knowing that the dark matter cannon is on the board, I shouldn't really worry about it as much as I do.
It tilts you,
should-
man. It really does.
Losing a ship a turn to that thing when they're like my power pieces is rough. And I mean, not just like blowing up, but taking the weapons out on, or the scanner out on my one battle cruiser and crippling it, that kind of stuff. That is terrifying. But
Where's Widow?
what I should have done is gone after the ships that didn't have Calypsos near them and just blown up everything except your battleship and one on the ground.
Then I'd have been host.
Yeah.
So at the end of this
But,
round, so at the end of this round,
Well, the
Joshua,
battleship comes in and
Yeah.
it comes in and it doesn't one shot, but it might as well have the battle cruiser that had lit up on the previous turn because it was super visible, and I think I knocked its scan range down to 1 inch or something, so it wasn't shooting at all, and it was very badly wounded.
Ooh.
It got finished off by a volley from your Theseus group, I think.
Yeah, the Theseus, which had gone up one flank, was able to get close enough and just throw a couple of shots at it. Didn't take much. It was pretty badly wounded, but it meant that his battle cruiser, which turned out to be a big deal, I think, it was also your launch battle cruiser.
Right,
remember
and
correctly.
I lost that the turn before I lost my Seattle, which wiped out my launch capability completely.
And I had brought 10 launch, so that's 10 2 attack, 2+ bombers. I was able to throw out after that.
That's a
It
lot.
started to die.
Yeah, the PHR bombers and fighters are significantly better than the UCM ones.
Are the fighters
Um,
better?
Yeah, you get 4 instead of 3.
Oh man, you only have 3?
Yeah, they're kind of like the Maritimes of the game.
Oh,
Wow.
Or kind of useless.
that's harsh.
Salt,
But,
1-0.
But it's really pretty there, right?
Yeah,
You got the ocean. So we have the Seattle.
I mean the
class,
Seattle is
carrier.
a nice ship. It's too bad it
It's
just shoots shit out those hangars, I guess.
yeah, but that turret it has is wicked.
It's true.
When I roll reasonably, not well, but reasonably.
Well, I think your turrets are more likely to crit.
Then most of your then your medium and light broadsides, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Um,
okay,
Which
so that's
which is why I
turn.
only get 4 dice per.
That's turn 3,
Um,
right?
Yeah.
Okay, we're
yeah.
not even to the scoring round yet. And Joshua, it sounds like you're back in it.
Yeah.
In a
So
big way.
yeah. Well, I mean, the ground situation is still looking rough, right? So the 2 sectors on the outside edges, he's got a couple of things he dropped on there, and I can't get anything close, right? So fine. The next clusters in, because there's 5 in total, are the power plant ones, and there's the one in the middle. Well, what happens is my troop ships are just dropping troops like crazy, and because I've got 2 troop ships and he only has 1, it means that the far location, the one where his troop ship isn't, even though he's got 3 strike carriers there, and he's dropping tanks, so they're fighting better. I'm overwhelming him. So
Yeah.
that one's not looking
Dropping-
so bad, right?
Twice as many points for control as I'm able to.
Yeah. We both rolled quite badly on the defense batteries. Actually, they didn't make that big a difference, unfortunately. But on the one where your troop ship was, I think it died in, was it turn 4?
Turn 4, you took out my Seattle, my San Francisco, and my Avalon. In turn 4.
With the battleship, I think, wasn't it?
With the battleship, yeah. And you're
Yeah.
like, it doesn't really do much. And I'm like,
It went weapons free. You expect things when a battleship goes weapons free, and to be fair, all those things were badly wounded already. Partly because of the battleship.
the Avalon wasn't crippled yet. Well, no, it was crippled, but not from all points. Crippled from the. He'd only taken 2 damage. You didn't even crit him with that the first round,
That's true. I didn't.
and he saved one of the armor saves, or made one of the armor saves. So
Super lame.
he'd only taken 2, but you blew him up along with the Seattle and San Francisco, leaving me with not really any ships above ground. A couple new Kairos.
Because the other thing is, you had 2 strike carriers dropping on the power plant location where your troop ship used to be.
Yeah.
But when you tried to bring a couple of strike carriers over, they got blown up when they came up to go down.
Yeah.
So the one thing about
Sorry,
me
when they
controlling
came up to
space-
go down?
Yeah, sorry, because his strike carriers were in atmosphere, but they had to come up into the orbital layer in order to get over there, so
Oh,
that they
yeah,
could then
okay.
drop down the next turn. Which was probably the right call, because they left a sector that I never even contested, so he was going to take it anyway. But because I controlled the space, I was able to blow them up before they went into atmosphere, so that he couldn't overwhelm my 1 troop ship.
Yeah, and actually, keeping him there might have ultimately been the better thing, anyways, because you had pulled your 2 single launch vessels off in that direction, and
Mhm.
mine are better at fighting.
True.
'Cause they don't have guns; they just have launch, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And I've got close action and turrets on my thing, so I could have
But they
stayed
do
there.
have close action.
popped
They
up.
do have close action, but no guns.
Yeah. So I probably should have stayed there, then popped up if they came over and put some bullets into one of them at least. Or at least
Yeah,
not
maybe.
giving me the air there.
They'd have done more than just get blown up. That's for sure.
Yeah, I think they took a couple pot shots at the Calypsos and didn't do much on that.
But anyway, at the turn 4, when
Mhm.
we did the scoring here,
Yeah.
it ended up being something like 18 to 22, in my favor actually.
After you.
And the reason,
Mm-hmm.
and the reason was because I had control of both of the power plant sectors, right? So it means I got
Yeah.
8 points. Now
Yeah.
he contested them, so he got half, so he got 4. But those extra 8 points basically made up for the fact that he had 2 sectors on the 2 edges, which were 3 points each, total of 6 points, all to himself.
Okay.
So that meant that I was still behind a little bit, but my control of the space meant I had more of the critical locations.
Yeah.
That pushed me over a little bit. And I think we played one more round, wherein more things died that were not mine, and then
Yes.
we had to call it because Dave had to go.
Oh.
But it was fairly academic by that point, unless I completely lucked out on the ground combat. Because I did have tanks aplenty.
Yeah.
So there was a tiny sliver of a win condition for me, just very tiny, and that is me rolling perfectly. Well, not perfectly, but really well, and Josh rolling really terribly in the ground combat on the 2 main sectors. But even then, dropping happens after we fight.
Yeah.
So he could have dropped back into those sectors to maintain control.
I think that's
it would have
probably
had
what
to have
would
been a
have
perfect
happened.
storm. Yeah.
I could
I
have
would have,
moved
like-
a lot of ships to control the space, right?
Well, controlling the space, you had no problem. But on the ground itself, I would have had to basically cleared you off the ground and land, and have stuff left over and land more stuff into those power plants in other sectors
Mm-hmm.
to basically make sure that I have them.
Okay.
Now that
so-
said, if I'd managed to do that, I think I'd still would have lost on control.
So we
So
got,
I
about,
guess
we got about 2 minutes
Battleship
left.
was
We got about 2 minutes left. Let's get a closing thought from each of you, and then wrap it up, and then I'll go back and take a listen to it. So, Dave, what I'd like to hear is whether bringing those 12 Corvettes
Yeah.
paid off, or would you use them differently next time?
well, I wouldn't use them differently. I might take a different number of, but they are as effective in what they do as the Taipeis are in what they do.
Yeah.
What they do is different, but they are a force to be reckoned with because they can go atmospheric and still shoot, and they can get to atmosphere faster. Like they can get. Well, they've got if they burn on. They've got a 28-inch.
Yeah. That's pretty.
Right,
That's
right.
pretty powerful. So, and Joshua, are you going to keep giving up on your guys so easily next time?
I think what I would do differently is maybe not necessarily change my list, although I'm inclined to take a few more strike carriers. But what I'm thinking is that when I see those Corvettes on the table, I should just hang my drop ships, my troop ships, or my strike carriers, I should say, back. And sure, if they're delayed in getting there, then they're not dropping troops. But they don't get to drop troops if they're dead either. So if I wait and let my plentiful light broadsides maybe thin them out first,
Yeah.
I might have been better off. But That's something I would be more likely to try, because the usual strategy for both sides has been you burn your strike carriers in as quick as you can, get them down, drop troops as fast as you can, right? And you risk getting a hit when you fly in. But the corvettes have changed that, and so maybe I got to take some to go against his. I'm not sure. I think that game has changed the little meta that we have in between the two of us, in that it's upped the required number of strike carriers and probably made corvettes not quite a necessity, but something that has to be dealt with.
Great.
I would agree. I think as well, I may, no guarantees, but I may have finally learned my lesson about not shooting at the battleship while there's Calypsos around.
Yeah.
No guarantees, though. I mean, I might still be out to lunch on that one.
Thanks, guys. Thank you if you've been listening. This is the first of the Secret Heroes Drop Fleet Commander podcasts. Hopefully more in the future. This was just a try to see if we have some technology issues, that kind of thing. There'll be more in the future. Thanks.